Welcome to Sensual Secrets, where we talk about how you can live in pleasure by embracing your feminine energy, finding and nurturing a deeply loving relationship, and growing into the best version of yourself. My name is Lieke Seles, and I will be your host, guiding you on this intimate journey of self-discovery. I hope you really enjoy, and please subscribe. It would mean so much to me. Hello, beautiful souls, and welcome to a new episode of Sensual Secrets. Today I want to talk about the Vipassana meditation retreat that I've just been through. I want to go over some of the really interesting Buddhist teachings that I've learned in there, and then also share a bit about my own experience. So first of all, everyone who goes into a Vipassana has their own experience. And I'm here just sharing what I've been going through. But please know that whenever you will do your own Vipassana, it can be a completely different experience. Because it was so funny for me to realize that I was going in with expectations based upon opinions of others or other people's experiences, thinking that I would learn things about myself, or that I would heal things about myself, or that I would encounter difficult thoughts. And after the first few teachings, it was so clear to me that I just have to completely forget or let go of the self. And so instead of wanting to improve myself, or instead of wanting to heal myself or become a better version of myself, Vipassana teaches you to completely let go of the self. Instead of just attending to the garden and working on a better version of yourself, you completely take out the weeds by the roots, and you completely let go of the whole concept of being a self, being a person, having identification. Yeah, that was one of the first few funny realizations. So what I learned in there is that Buddhism is a pathway to enlightenment through teachings and practices of specific techniques. And these techniques and these practices have been proven over and over for the past 2,600 years. And they seem to work pretty well to reach enlightenment. And that's why they have been passed down generation after generation through these monks that kept this valuable knowledge alive. And it's something to be so grateful for, because what I've experienced in there by applying this practice has been life-changing and mind-blowing. The main thing I have tried to do in there is letting go of the self, letting go of the ego, of the identification of being me, and stop taking things personally by learning to observe my experience objectively so that I don't react to any feelings, so that I can let go of all of the impermanent experiences. When you realize that everything in your environment, everything you observe is just rising and passing away, and you don't attach to it, that's when the suffering ends. And so in Buddhism, they teach you to become aware that there is suffering and how that suffering arises. And then they teach you a clear pathway in which you can eliminate the suffering by letting go of the self. Because when you take things personally, or there is clinging to a specific emotion or a situation, or even a desire, something that you really want, there's non-acceptance of the now, and there's no full contentment with the way things are in this present moment, then there is suffering. And through meditation practices, you learn to identify unwholesome mental factors, the 5 hindrances, and eliminate them. And then next to that, we also learn to identify or recognize 7 wholesome factors and practice generating them in order to purify our mind, and through that also healing the body. And so these wholesome and unwholesome thought patterns, we learn to take note of them, to know them and see them, experience them as a wisdom to be deeply aware of them, and then to let them go. I'll go over these 5 hindrances which prevent us from reaching enlightenment and which create suffering. And then I'll go over the 7 enlightenment factors. And all of these, we take note of them, we know them, and we let them go. And we move on. And that's honoring the impermanence of things. You just see everything rising and passing away, rising and passing away. The first of the 5 hindrances is sensual desires, which means wanting something or craving something. When you are not fully accepting the now and you crave, for example, for things to be better, or you crave for a dream to come true, you crave to be somewhere in the future or for things to change in the present moment, because that will make you happy. But when you constantly crave things, you always have to change things in order to be happy. So it is achieving that next goal, getting the better car, getting the bigger salary. When you get that next thing that you are craving, then you will be happy. But when you let go of the craving and you feel the contentment in the present moment, that's when there can be happiness. And that's in a way how sensual desires create suffering. And the second hindrance, the second cause of suffering, is aversion or resistance. Whenever you're not accepting the way things are now, whenever there's, for example, irritation or frustration that builds up, when you are complaining or blaming, or when you are criticizing yourself or others, once again, this is a non-acceptance of the present moment. So by cultivating contentment, you can get over the aversion, the resistance of whatever judgment you have about yourself, about something, the judgment that you feel is a rejection of something. That is reality in this present moment. So when you let go of all of these judgments or these rejections, you can feel content with what is, and you can feel happiness. A good way to overcome the aversion or the resistance of things is by practicing loving kindness. So you can practice loving kindness by practicing compassion, or through doing a loving kindness meditation by feeling love for whatever the reality is, for whichever person, for whoever is saying something, doing something. And I really noticed in there, through practicing this or through becoming aware of aversion and rejection, how many judgments I actually have throughout the day. Because I didn't see myself as a judging person until I started becoming aware of all of the craving that I had and all of the rejection that I was feeling, even about silly things that you wouldn't even consciously think about during the day. So when you practice this Vipassana, you become conscious of everything. It was a really good lesson for me to have a look in the mirror and to see that I am actually judging situations, people, myself. And yeah, that judgment leaves a negative feeling inside of myself, which creates suffering. And so the third cause of suffering is laziness or boredom. And what you can do when you're feeling lazy or you're feeling bored, you're not feeling inspired, what you can do is to stand up and to face it, to take action, to change it, create a change in the situation, make yourself more active. When you're feeling tired and you go for a walk, you can get a second wind. In the meditation hall, when you would feel tired as if you were falling asleep even, then what you would do is create more action in the noting and the knowing, or during a walking meditation, create some more energy. You can charge yourself up through movement, through breath, through thinking actively, so that you can let go of the boredom. And then the fourth thought pattern that is hindering us from reaching enlightenment is restlessness. And that means remorse or running out into the future and the past. So I've had so many moments in there that I noticed myself planning things into the future, or remembering things, remembering situations or conversations that I've had in the past. It might be that ex-lovers would come up and situations that you were hurt, that you were traumatized. moments with friends that were really enjoyable or really painful. And then the creating and the fun, the excitement that I would feel when thinking of creating new things in my business or seeing myself in the future in certain situations, things that I would love to realize. And it was so funny to realize that all of these thoughts are just fiction in your head and they're not reality in the present moment. So for me personally, I don't linger in the past too much, but I do have so much enjoyment in creating into the future and dreaming about the future, visualizing about the future. But so in the Vipassana, I learned to really let go of that and come back to the present moment. Then the last one, the fifth hindrance, is doubt or uncertainty. And so when there is doubt or uncertainty, you do not know what to do. And that takes away your confidence. And so how you can fix this is by really cultivating faith and confidence in yourself and in the now. And the fact that you are exactly where you are meant to be. Your conditions around you are exactly perfect as they are. The more that you create confidence in yourself, in what you are doing, in who you are, and what you are, the less uncertainty you will experience, the less doubt you will experience, the less you will doubt the decisions that you make, or the less you will doubt the things that you say. And so it just creates a more confident state of being. So those were the 5 hindrances, and in the Vipassana, we really tried to observe them in order to let them go. These are the things we don't want to experience anymore, because that takes us away from happiness, that takes us into suffering. Then next to that, while we work on diminishing those 5 hindrances, we also worked on cultivating wholesome mental states. And so we worked on cultivating the 7 enlightenment factors. And I'll quickly go over these enlightenment factors, because these are so valuable that you can also practice in your life to become more aware of the unwholesome things you want to let go of, and then to also focus on cultivating these beautiful things in your life that actually increase your happiness and that decrease the suffering. So the first of the enlightenment factors is mindfulness. And that is the ability to bring the knowing, the deep knowing into the present moment, like a deep awareness, which you cultivate through the senses, which are hearing, touching, seeing, thinking, smelling, tasting. Mindfulness isn't just being present, but mindfulness goes deeper than that. It is a deep knowing of being aware, for example, when you hear a bird singing, that you are really in that sound. When you feel the softness of your clothes on your skin, not just to be aware of the touch, but to really have every layer of that experience, to go deeply into that and immerse yourself into that experience of how the soft fabric of your clothes exactly feels on your skin and the warmth that it brings with it, or the texture of it, etc. So go deeply into the experience of the present moment through mindfulness. Then the second one, the second enlightenment factor, is the investigation of things. So the wisdom, the deep inner knowing that comes after mindfulness. When you are truly deeply aware of the things you are experiencing, then you can turn that into wisdom. And so there's 3 kinds of wisdom that we can cultivate. The first kind of wisdom we cultivate through reading or studying, which is like a basic learning. And then the second one is the wisdom that you gain through investigating or analyzing things. And then the third kind of wisdom is the one you cultivate through meditation, which is also intuition. This kind of wisdom doesn't come through thinking, but it comes through intuitive flashes, through a deep inner knowing that just arises. When you have these flashes of enlightenment, your aha moment, when the light goes on inside of you and you don't even know where some ideas came from, that is the wisdom that arises through having space in your mind and not through actively thinking about something. And so number 3 of the 7 enlightenment factors is energy and effort. And that means energy and effort to keep coming back to the present moment. Because yes, it takes work. It takes concentration. It takes work to put yourself constantly in a state of presence. Because your mind will wander, you will get distracted by your social life, by sensual pleasures, by the whole human experience. And it does require effort for you to come back to the present moment and to be deeply aware of everything that's going on around you, inside of you, and to really come back to your experience of the present moment. Because the nature of the mind is that it takes us away from the present moment, and that it starts thinking, and that it starts feeding on all of the stories, mostly beautiful stories about yourself. And it feeds on that energy, and it just takes you away wandering further and further. And I bet you've all had these experiences that you think of one thing and then 10 minutes later you are all of a sudden 20 steps further and you don't even know how you got there, because all of these thoughts connected, but the end result had nothing to do with where your thought pattern started. For example, when you're smelling and tasting chocolate, and then you start thinking about the moment that you bought this chocolate in this cute little shop down the road, and you met the girl who works there, who had such a beautiful smile, which you saw because she told you a joke. And then you think of your other friend who also tells you the most funniest jokes, and the moment that you went partying with them 3 months ago, and that you were laughing your head off, and the music was so good in the party, and you were kissing your boyfriend, and you and your mind just wanders off and keeps going and going and going. And so it takes energy and it takes effort to just bring yourself back to the present moment and to stay here, tasting and smelling the chocolate, feeling the texture of the chocolate in your mouth, experiencing how you swallow it and how it goes down into your body. Yes, it does take work to be present. And so the 4th enlightenment factor, which we want to cultivate, is excitement, joy, rapture. And this causes inspiration and enthusiasm. And this joy that you feel can be physical or mental. You can have super pleasant thoughts, or you can have these feelings of excitement and bliss and joy arising in your body. And I truly experienced this in the Vipassana. In some moments, I will tell you a bit more about my experience later, but I was just in pure bliss and love. And I felt so much energy in my body, as if I was floating while walking sometimes, or if I wanted to run, as if I wanted to scream. Obviously, we couldn't express ourselves because we had to be silent. But so you feel these beautiful feelings bubbling up inside of you, and you feel so much love. And it's truly something that inspires you and creates enthusiasm to go further ahead with this practice, or just enthusiasm for life. And for example, for all the ideas that you have and that you want to create, or that I wanted to create in my business, or all the love that I feel for my partner, my parents, my family, my sister. And yeah, so also this joy, this rapture, this excitement, you also need to be aware of it, note it, know it, and let it go. To not be attached to all of these beautiful experiences. And then the 5th factor of enlightenment is tranquility. And that means reaching a calmness or a stillness of the mind, a coolness, reaching some silence in your mind. That really for me resonated with just a feeling of inner peace. Just this feeling, this beautiful calm when I was meditating and I was in this kind of experience of a void. And I could just be there, and everything was nice and fine and peaceful, in harmony. That's truly how I experienced inner peace, by reaching this tranquility in my meditation. The 6th enlightenment factor is concentration and one-pointedness. When you get your mind into this oneness, and there is such a clear focus, a singular focus, as if you are hyper alert, hyper aware of everything that is happening around you. I've experienced this, for example, also in how every little leaf would move in the wind, or how the wind would feel on my skin, and just being hyper aware of everything, because you have this deep penetrating concentration and seeing all of the vibrant colors. And even as I explained in the 3-day fasting, you have this sense of eagle eyes, that you are so focused. You can be so focused on just one single thing. And the really cool part is when you're just so extremely focused on everything at the same time. So you're experiencing everything what happens in the present moment. And you can't even verbalize it into a thought, because you're just aware of everything happening. And you are noting, knowing, and letting go. And you see this moment after moment after moment after moment, as if you are aware of the video that is being made out of 60 frames per second. You're aware of every single frame that is happening. You see it, you feel it, you experience it. And then the last one of the enlightenment factors that we want to cultivate is equanimity. And equanimity means that you don't have any preferences. You are centered. There is no desire, there's no craving, there's no clinging to anything. There's no aversion. There's no rejection of anything. So you stay centered in between the craving and the rejection, in between the desire and the aversion. You are cool with whatever is. And that doesn't mean that you become apathic, but that means that you are just chill with whatever it is. Is it unpleasant? Or is it pleasant? It doesn't matter. You are aware of it, you note it, you know it, you become aware of it as deep wisdom, and you let it go. So you're cool with whatever is. Doesn't mean that when you, for example, see an accident on the street, that you're not gonna go run out and help that person, because you still care. But you're not being completely blown away, or you don't go into shock when you see an accident, because you're cool with whatever is, and you just do whatever it takes in this moment to help that other person, without starting to cry, without starting to feel super stressed. You're just there and you help out. And in another way, you also let go of the clinging to the pleasant feelings. You don't go chasing for bliss. You're not a bliss junkie. So you're not always on the go and always needing these beautiful experiences like addictions, or when you're always reaching for that next orgasm, or when you're eating your food and you can't even wait for the bite that is in your mouth to be finished and enjoy that bite. No, you're already on to preparing the next bite. Or when you are having dinner, you're already thinking of how good the dessert will be. And so there's this constant craving for pleasure. And so when you're cool with whatever is, and when you let that go, that craving or the rejection of anything that is happening, any situation that before would trigger you, then you stop the suffering, because you are content and you are good in the here and now. So I wanted to share these 5 hindrances with you and the 7 enlightenment factors, because I think this is something that is so valuable that you can cultivate in your own life, that you can become aware of in the moments of like, whoa, wait a second, am I judging something? Am I rejecting the situation? Am I fully present here? Am I experiencing joy? Am I experiencing contentment? Am I craving something to be different? And the more that you do that, the more you let go of something that isn't present, the more you can accept the present moment. And next to that, we had other really beautiful, insightful teachings, but I won't go over everything that I've learned. Maybe another thing that I'll mention, what I really thought was beautiful, is that we went over a decision-making process. And that is, instead of making decisions based on the result that the decision will give you, make your decisions based on the intention. So is the intention in favor of the well-being of all humankind, of all living beings, of planet Earth? Then go with that decision because you want to create good karma, better energy. You want to create positive vibrations, and so more good things will come to you. And this is really the ethics or the virtue that you go for the path that reaches to enlightenment is by choosing the things that will lead you there. And that is by choosing the things with the intention of benefiting all. And that is humankind, all living beings, and Mother Earth. Or even other species in space. And that's a good lesson maybe to reflect upon. Are you making your decisions based upon what will give you financial gain, or based upon what will be good for you but bad for others? Or are you making your decisions based upon what will be good for others or bad for yourself? Revisit that decision-making process, become aware of it, and really start to implement the benefit of all. And that also means yourself and others and everything around you. So are you contributing to the world? Are you contributing to the benefit of the world, or are you taking away from this world? That can be, for example, by benefiting financially and taking away other people's benefits, or that can be by forgetting about yourself and pleasing others, letting others run over you. So that was a really interesting lesson, and I really want to make my decisions based upon my intentions and the benefit of all moving forward, to let go of any selflessness or any selfishness. Yeah, we learned a lot of interesting things in Vipassana, and I'm so grateful that I've been there, that I've been through this experience, and so proud of myself that I did this. And I just want to share a few pieces of my diary of impactful moments. And yes, I know that normally you're not supposed to take any notes or write in Vipassana, but I did take note because I didn't want to forget all of these beautiful insights that I've had in there. Yeah, there were some moments that were really intense, but I enjoyed all of it. Everything that came my way was a beautiful lesson, and for me to integrate into my life afterwards. And so I would love to read to you 3 passages of my journal of some experiences that I've had in there. This evening meditation was so overwhelming. I've been experiencing oneness and easily dropping into it during the sitting meditations, but no true wisdom insights had come until now. So tonight I was inside my limitlessness and got a visualization. A big drill head point or a spinning tool with rigs on it, like a screw head, appeared and kept turning upward and made a hole into the ceiling that wasn't there before. And a beam of light came through. I felt called to run up the screw head, to go and look inside the hole. When I arrived at the top, there was so much light coming through, and the shape of the light turned into a keyhole, flashing away one after another, which led me to see a figure, a person without identity, like an avatar. There was no gender, no face, and all of a sudden, I completely understood what the movie Annihilation is about. Every aspect of it, from the lighthouse to the hindrances to the losing yourself and your body. And this realization came to me that I have to die, that myself, my sense of self, my ego, my identity has to die. And I know it as a truth. I experienced it as a deep inner knowing, but I haven't experienced the death yet. And now I understand what Anthony, our teacher, was talking about when saying that there's nothing to be scared about when trying to lose yourself, when you forget about yourself, when you are going through these stages of enlightenment. Because this realization feels so overwhelming. It is scary and I feel some resistance to it. And after the meditation, when I spoke with Dave, one of the assistants, he said that there's nothing to be scared about, that life still goes on after you have died in this lifetime, but just from a different perspective. And that Anthony's teachings are truly crazy. and from a different level than anything he has found in different places. I'd love to speak with Anthony tomorrow. There's nothing to be scared about. I knew in advance that I would come out as a different person, and I even called my family to tell them I love them and I truly wanted to say goodbye to Ben and that they would see me as a different woman when coming out. And I told all of my friends the same thing. I just didn't and couldn't imagine how different I would be. Let's see what more is there to come, because it's only day 5 out of 10 on the pathway to reaching enlightenment. And then in the morning, I went on to continue writing. This is truly a taking away the weeds by the roots. It's no fixing of character flaws to experience a better self, but completely removing the self. Anthony said that this realization that I have to die during this lifetime while still living on in the human experience is a result of my karma, building up through past lives, that this might be the lifetime for me to move on into the next phase, to reach enlightenment, that all of my karma is coming together to this point to arise, and that life will still be enjoyable and fun. Just some activities that are necessary will be put aside through maturing. And yes, I will still have and enjoy sex. This is me sharing about this moment that I realized that I had this visualization of my death, of the death of the self, and that I realized that I have to die in this lifetime. And it was so overwhelming for me. And I really felt this resistance to it, and I was feeling as if I wouldn't enjoy life anymore. So I was really going to our teacher and asking him, am I still gonna want to have sex? And yeah, I feel like my practice was going so well. And in that moment, it was the first time that I truly felt resistance. And that is really when you notice that the ego, the idea of the self, is holding on and that it doesn't want you to let go. And then I want to share with you this beautiful, blissful moment that I experienced. And I was just writing this down after breakfast. We were sitting there. I was observing everything, the nature around, how I was eating my food. I was being so present, and I was just having these deep, blissful experiences. And something that I wrote out during this blissful experience is the following. Remember what you are. You have the light of 1,000 stars within you. You are the sun. Shine your light without judgment, without taking anything personally. How could you if there's not a person to take it on? Remember your essence. All else doesn't matter. It comes and goes. Don't judge. There's nothing there to be judged. Nothing there is. Just observe. Be aware of all. And then I was speaking with my inner child and remembering all of these beautiful truths that I felt as a kid. And so, what is your favorite color? Yellow, because it makes me happy. It is just like the sun. And what do you want your room to look like when you grow up? I want it to be in the east because I want to wake up with the sun. It is the most beautiful thing there is. And there she is. Every day, she always gives. She's always there, shining without discrimination, without judgment of any living being. I only couldn't see it with the clouds. I didn't realize there were only blockages. But now I see, I know. I am in bliss. I am gratitude. Gratitude is not like. It is just there, and I'm just there. There's no boundary, no division. I am gratitude. I am love. I am loving awareness. As the body weeps tears. Don't let the mind obstruct you from what you are. So yeah, I was just having these beautiful, blissful experiences of experiencing being love without being a person, There were no boundaries of where I started as a person and where love started from the outside or from the inside. It was just all one. It was all bliss. It was all just loving awareness. It was all gratitude. And there was no division between me and love, between me and gratitude, between me and bliss. And it's one of the most profound experiences of bliss that I've had, because it was a complete dissolution of a divide, of the duality of being a self and experiencing bliss. It was all one experience, and that was really, really cool. And then the last thing I want to share with you is this experience that I've had when letting go of codependency and truly being present with myself and completely letting go of clinging to experiencing anything else than the present moment, and being completely content with what is and with having myself and my own experience. And I will share a bit more with you after about how I've also integrated this into my relationship. So my diary goes like this. I've been having super vivid dreams, as if my body is resting, but I'm not really sleeping. My mind is traveling somewhere, as if I'm still meditating. So when I wake up, it seems like I haven't even slept, but I'm getting used to the sleeping less. This morning, about 8 out of the 32 people that were left have left as planned because they had put different dates on the retreat initially. But when I went into the meditation hall after breakfast, I realized that my friend Nim had left as well. And that immediately sent a wave of abandonment over my body, a fear of loss, a fear of being left behind, with questions rising as to why and if I should leave too, and if she'd left me a note in my bed maybe. With so many people leaving, including my friend, I got this feeling of being left behind. It distracted me during meditation, as if they had moved on to a different life, as if they had moved on into freedom and I was still here inside, as if it's a prison. But I quickly realized that this was exactly supposed to happen. It was perfect like this for me to get over or to let go of my codependency or the need to have a social safety through people around me. Because I noticed myself looking around in the meditation hall and finding safety and relief to see which familiar faces were still here. And I've been able to practice letting go of those feelings. And when I truly let go of those emotions and that attachment, that clinging, it was so freeing. I felt completely free to be in this moment, to be myself, to be here and now, fully accepting the present moment and the fact that I am choosing to be here. And then I came to another realization, that I am not a quitter. I have so much willpower and determination for anything that I challenge myself to achieve. So why would I still have these avoidant patterns showing up in my relationship and still want to run away or quit my relationship out of fear and protection to not get hurt when there is a difficult conversation coming up? This is not how I behave in any other situation, so why would I act any differently in this highly emotional state? Now that I've realized and practiced to not take anything personally, especially my emotions, I can let go of this avoidant pattern and lead the way in my relationship. I am letting go of clinging or dependency on certain situations, certain conditions for happiness or peace, so that there's no more fear of loss when I embrace the change and the present moment. Those were just 3 of the incredibly beautiful moments or teachings, wisdoms, realizations that I have experienced inside of the Vipassana meditation. And then I want to shortly touch upon what happens after the Vipassana, And that is the returning to normal life. And wow, after 10 days without any dopamine hits, without any sensual pleasures, without any, not even being able to smile to someone. And I think the silence wasn't even like difficult. I just realized how much non-verbal communication you have and how enjoyable it is to connect with other people and to not be able to react when you accidentally look into someone's eyes. That was so difficult because I'm so naturally compelled to look for connection, to look for eye contact, and to then exchange energy, even just by a smile on your face. And so initially when I could talk again, that was so weird because you're really in your own little world for 10 days. And then connecting with other humans feels like this big rush of dopamine. And there's a lot of inputs, there's a lot of stimulation all of a sudden. And something that was really profound for me is to hug again, to touch another human being. And I always knew that I love touching and affection, physical affection. But wow, after 10 days or 11 days of not touching anyone, to touch the skin of another human being, or even the dogs when I got home, just feels so beautiful. There's so much love in physical touch, so much enjoyment in physical touch. And when I hugged my friend who came to pick me up, I immediately burst out into tears just by this exchange of energy that you experience when you give someone a hug. Wow, it's pure bliss after 10 days of deprivation. And I went to the beach after having beautiful interactions with people and noticing how busy life is and immediately being catapulted into the rush of life and so many things coming your way, having over 1,000 WhatsApp messages that you have to catch up on. It's a lot after 10 days of silence and being in your own little world and in peace and trying to detach from all of it. I went to the beach and I was very aware of not having had any music. And so I picked this beautiful song to listen to as my first song after 10 days of not listening to anything, which has never ever happened before. So I listened to this beautiful song and I just dropped down to my knees and I started crying. It was just so beautiful to hear music again. It was so blissful, so much dopamine, so much love. Wow, that was such a profound experience to listen to music again, to feel that enjoyment. And then the integration of the Vipassana became more and more clear in the days after when I reconnected with my partner and really when I was experiencing the mirror that he was showing me or seeing how I behave differently in this intimate relationship. A few things that became clear that I've shifted is that I'm so much more emotional. There's so many less layers for my emotions to just arise and let go. I experience them, I cry, and they pass. I feel something negative arise and I see it for what it is and I let it go. It's so beautiful. There's no attachment to anything. And when I experience love, when I experience bliss, I just feel it and I'm so aware of it, deeply experience it in my body. I'm truly able to experience emotions like a 3-year-old kid who just feels something, expresses it, and lets go immediately. And another beautiful shift that I've realized is that I'm really being in myself. My energy is more contained and full. There's no neediness, there's no clinging, there's no codependence. I'm just really grounded and confident, and I feel full, satiated in being myself. I'm not worried about where my partner is going and when we will see each other, if I don't have my phone and if I need to text him, because I'm just so happy and content and full of where I'm at in this present moment. And it's so beautiful for me to experience this, and for my partner as well. It's just so freeing. I'm just so happy with being in my own energy, in my own space, on a really deep level. And I notice my friends also telling me this, that I just feel so whole, so in myself, and so confident, speaking my truth with absolute confidence. Not an arrogance, but just a deep inner confidence. Another thing that I've noticed is that my eye contact and my ability to connect with people has become so much deeper. As if before there was this thin veil, this protection of myself, the protection of the ego, because there were insecurities. And this veil has lifted, and I'm able to show my soul so deeply, and I'm able to have deeper eye contact. And I think this is something that people also say about gurus, is that you can drown into their eyes and you really see yourself into their eyes. And I feel like I have let go of a layer, and through the Vipassana, I have reached the ability to connect deeper, to let people in deeper, because I've always been a really good listener. I've always been so present with people when they are talking, but for me to let people deeper into my own soul, or when I am speaking, when I'm telling my truth, I feel like I've let go of so many insecurities, and it's so easy to let people in now, and I'm able to connect on a way deeper level. There's no defensiveness, there's no protection needed, because I'm just so good with who I am, what I am, where I'm at, how I'm feeling. I have this inner peace. Yeah, it's just really, really, really beautiful to experience this. And I also noticed this in my communication. I'm not taking things personally. I'm just listening to whatever my partner has to say so selflessly. And I'm not getting triggered by anything he says that would trigger me in the past, that would trigger an insecurity, for example, and I would go into defense. My ego isn't there to that extent. I'm just witnessing. I'm just being present. I'm accepting. I'm surrendering. I'm observing, and I'm just there. I have space for whatever he wants to say, and I can work with that. I can accept that, and I can see more truth, see more of him, and he really feels more understood, because I'm not defending any of my own egocentric beliefs, and I can just accept him and see him for what he is, and I can just accept and experience his truth on a deeper level. I've noticed that I'm not being triggered anymore, but I'm not criticizing either. I would, for example, have a comment about a silly thing, which used to be maybe a judgment or a thing that I would think would be better or would be good. I'm just accepting behavior of others, behavior of myself, for what it is. There's no judgment, there's no criticizing, there's no blaming, and it clears up so much mental space and energy. I've noticed in these past few days this space or this shift that has clearly happened. When my partner says a certain thing or behaves in a certain way, there's this realization, and I'm like, huh? I'm not feeling any urge to do this now, but I clearly remember that in the past, I would react to this like that. I would react in a triggered way, or I would react by saying something. And I don't feel this urge at all anymore. And that's so weird, but so beautiful to realize. And so, yeah, this Vipassana has truly changed me, has really opened me up to experience more love, to experience less self, to be able to connect deeper, to be less triggered, to have a more beautiful relationship, to really accept my partner and others and myself for what is, for who they are, for who I am, to not attach to any emotions, positive or negative, but just to experience all of it. And this practice has really blown away my mind. figure of speech, but also literally. And I would definitely recommend this to anyone. And I will definitely do it again myself. And I'm really curious to see what else will come up without trying to reach a goal or without craving something to happen. Just an open-minded curiosity. And I'll leave it at that. Have a beautiful day.